Welcome to Summit. We strive to be a church where you can belong long before you come to believe.
At each of our locations, we worship together, learn and grow together, serve together, and form relationships around a common purpose to inspire people to find and follow the way of Jesus.
Take a moment and scan the QR code. That leads to our guide for all things Summit. You'll discover info about events, ways to engage in community here, resources mentioned in today's sermon, and ways to give.
So now, as we jump into our service today, we invite you to lean in, offer your full attention to the Lord, and may the grace of Jesus be with you always.
How are y'all doing? Good. So good to be with you all. My name is Chris, and I'm the Orlando campus minister. And I'm so thankful that you're here today. So thanks for coming and bringing the church into this room. It's just such a joy to be with you and sing with you and worship God together. So thank you for being here. We have a lot of things going on. It might have snuck up on you too, but it's pretty much December, which means it's pretty much Christmas, which means it's the end of the year, and I'm not panicking, you're panicking. And we have a lot of things happening. And if you're curious about what's going on, we have some family things happening, some youth things happening. You can find all of that out by tapping your phone to the little dot on the seat in front of you. That's gonna give you our service guide, which is service notes for today, some of the verses that we will use in our sermon today, as well as just everything else going on. And next week we start Advent, so some of that's happening as well, which is just so exciting. So I encourage you to do that, to figure out what's going on here and to get more involved with all the amazing things that are happening. One of those things that I want to tell you about today is that we're continuing on in our sermon series. And this is the last week of our sermon series called The Church Is. And that is, you can see, the church is God's design for people devoted to Jesus in community, on mission, to the world. So we are in that to the world part. And what that means for us is, how do we take this thing that God designed, the church, right? How do we share that with other people? Because here's the thing, the church wasn't designed for us to just be the church by ourselves. It was designed for us to bring others into the church and to serve the world and those locally around us. And that, for the bottom line for us, means that the world is watching the church. The world is looking at us and making a decision about the church and making a decision about Jesus. So what can we do to be the best church to the world? And today we're going to hear from our local and global pastor, John Parker. And he's going to, yes, you should woo for that, absolutely. And he's going to share a little bit about his story, but also just what we can do as a church to be Jesus to other people. And I'm really excited about that. I'm really glad you guys get to hear that, and I get to hear it with you. But yeah, one of the ways we get to do that, the slide will show you there, is we serve locally and globally. And for us, that means we focus on what we believe God is calling us to, which is the most vulnerable in our community and in the world. And did you all get this when you came in? Great. Okay, so on this blue side here, this is through care communities. And care communities are an amazing thing. I just absolutely love that Summit does. And this is a community of people that surround foster and adoptive families and support them. And so that can mean bringing food, meals. That can mean just showing up to spend time with those children that are being fostered or adopted. It just means surrounding them with community and love. And we would love to create even more of these communities. So there's a little tear off on the bottom there. And if you're at all interested, just want to show up to see what that can possibly be like, how you can be involved, you can tear that off, and on your way out, you'll place that in a basket, and we'll connect with you about that. The other side of this is what we believe God is calling us to globally. And that is two places, Ethiopia and Malawi. Those are places that we have already been partnered with, and God is already doing amazing things through. And there's a QR code there. And if you're interested in learning more about that and possibly coming with us on a trip this summer, which you should, because I might go too, and we would have a lot of fun together. And you can scan that QR code and see a little bit more about that and learn when those meetings are coming up as well. So go ahead and do that. Hold on to this. Tear off that bottom flap there and go ahead and put that in the basket on the way out to learn more about those things. But God is doing a lot of things through our church, and it's a really exciting time to be here because we are not doing okay, so here's the deal. We've been partnering with a few different places for a long time, right? And one of those places is World Relief. And World Relief, have you guys heard of World Relief? Yes? Okay. So basically, World Relief's whole deal is they go to the places that are in the most crisis. So these are the boots on the ground people that show up when things are really hitting the fan, so to speak, right? And so this is our opportunity to partner with World Relief, and we get to do that. We've been doing it for 12 years, and we've seen God do amazing things through this organization. And so in a little bit, you're gonna get to see a video, a little bit more about World Relief, but the only way we can do this, the only way we can do care communities, the only way that we can do serving locally and globally, the only way we can even show up in these places in Ethiopia and Malawi and see what God is doing and share Jesus with other people is because of you all. So thank you for how you give, how you invest, how you lean into the things that God is doing here. We really appreciate that. So as the ushers come forward, let's also turn our attention to see this video from World Relief and see what God is doing right now through World Relief.
In Malawi, we work with the local churches, empowering them so that they can be able to save the most vulnerable people in their communities.
We use the word empowerment, but initially it's a sustainable approach that is used to mobilize the churches together.
We encourage that different denominations would come together
and have a unified purpose and realize the call of Christ upon their lives and serve their communities better.
So it can be water, it can be health, it can be food security. Any need that they identify, they come up with locally available solutions. So this is a locally driven solutions to address the needs that they have identified in their particular society.
One of the biggest challenges that we face is that the needs are too much on the ground and we are too little. We wish we have enough hands to do more. It's not just about having extra money, but it's also about having more people to influence, more people to bring the social behavior change.
We would want people to change how they look at poverty, how they look at themselves, how they look at some of the beliefs that contribute to poverty.
Some of the members, some of the community people, they expect that we will be just handing out things.
Yeah.
So we clarify that we are here to equip, we are here to engage and challenge each other in a mindset change process.
And our approach is sometimes slow, and you require a lot of patience to see that actual change happening in someone's life or in the communities. But when I see a transformed, let's say, household, I'm filled with a lot of joy.
Seeing the change that is happening, their lives getting transformed, that wakes me every morning to say, I think we can do more.
Matthew chapter 5, verses 14 through 16. You are the light of the world. Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven.
All right, well, good morning to you all. Oh, that's very good. And thanks for the two people who said woot when you heard I'd be up here today. It's an honor to be with you on this Thanksgiving week. Like Chris said, we are concluding today our series on really understanding the identity of the church, recognizing that the church is part of God's design, that we are, that the center of our devotion is to Jesus, that we're meant to do life in community, that we are to be on mission together. And then today we have the modest challenge of talking about, okay, so with all of that, how do we change the world? But I recognize that for some of you folks, you won't be able to really engage with the message until we answer the real burning question of the day, which is, how's the boat, right? Yeah, thank you. All right, so for those of you who don't know, I'm on a bit of a long-term project in building a boat, and last year at this time, this is where I was at with the project, and it's been a busy year, and so now, as of last weekend, this is what the boat, I know, right? And so you'll see my daughter, Archie up there. She came up last weekend and helped me finish the second of 3 layers of wood for the hull, and I'm making good progress. I think I'll be done in anywhere from 2 to 20 years, and and hopefully finished with enough time to actually make use of it. But the boat has been a bit of a curiosity for folks, and so it gets some visitors, like people who are visiting our friends, the Millers, in whose barn I'm building the boat. They'll come out and want to tour the boat, and so I'll be out there and I'm working on the boat and giving a tour. If Brandy's up there, she's a great tour guide for the boat, and so she'll answer all the questions and all of that. But inevitably, as we're talking about the project and people are exploring their curiosity about it, they have some really important questions that highlight the challenge of building the boat. They're like, all right, so when you're done with the hull, how are you going to flip it over? And I'm like, that's a really good question. Do you have any thoughts on how I could do that? And they'll be like, and when it's done, how are you going to get it out of the barn? I'm like, yeah, that's a good question. Do you have any thoughts on how we could do that? How are you going to melt down 4,000 pounds of lead to make the keel? And I'm like, that's a really good question. Do you have any thoughts on how I'm going to do that? And then, and then it gets to longer term questions like, how are you going to sail it across an ocean? I'm like, well, I guess I got to learn to sail. And it's just, it goes on and on. There's all these really great questions, and it just highlights for folks like how daunting the challenge is, and really highlights it for me as well. The last group that was out there, it was a visiting family, and they're asking all the hard questions came to mind, and they're like, how do you not just get overwhelmed with how daunting the project is? And it got me thinking about when are other times in my life where I've faced something that felt like just a daunting challenge. And things pretty quickly came to mind. The first thing that came to mind was the first time I went adventuring in the Everglades by myself. I'd never been to the Everglades before. I couldn't get anyone to go with me, so I'm down there standing at the edge of this canal that's basically just like a thin line that goes into the vastness of the Everglades. I've got my kayak next to me, and I'm looking at this water, and no kidding, it's just being crisscrossed constantly by alligators. And I was like, am I really gonna do this? Am I gonna get in this now seemingly very flimsy little kayak and go by myself into this daunting environment? That was the first thing that came to mind. And then not too dissimilar from that, every time I went to a new school, same thing, right? Feeling alone at the edge of the unknown, and feeling how daunting it is to take on a significant challenge. And in many ways, our work today of talking about how do we change the world, cue slide, there you go. How do, that idea of to the world, what does it look like for us to change the world? That can be a really daunting challenge. We've talked about in the last several weeks just the context that we're in and the challenges that we're facing in our community, in our country, in our world, and it can be really, really overwhelming. It can be a daunting challenge to say, part of the work of the church is to change the world. And if we look at it, not even just all the problems in the world, but just in the places where we work and in the priorities that we have and that we focus on. For us, our heart is vulnerable children and families. And both globally and locally, that is where we work, that is where we invest ourselves. But looking globally at what it looks like to try to change the world, you see so many challenges. When we first started partnering in East Africa on behalf of vulnerable children and families, it was in the height of the global AIDS pandemic. And in many communities, essentially, a middle generation had just disappeared. And there was this orphan crisis where millions upon millions of children were living as orphans, living in child-headed households. It was completely overwhelming. And that was all on top of circumstances already of pervasive poverty, of people living on mere dollars a day. Where we work in Malawi, it's a largely agrarian community, and the entire economy of a family, the entire economy of a household is based on what they can contrive from the ground in terms of their harvest. It's what feeds them. It's what provides resources for their kids to go to school. All of that. And in a drought year, their entire household economy goes away. And even in a good year with good rains, nearly every family faces what we call a hunger season. The months from when their food supply of the last harvest runs low and their new harvest has not yet come in. Those are daunting challenges. In Kenya, where we have some deep partnerships, it's a very similar thing in slum environments, where families just work and try to eke by every day. And most parents wake up not knowing how they're going to feed their children that day. There's so much lack, and the challenge is so daunting. And it's not just over their challenges. When we look locally at our heart for vulnerable children and families and the ways that we want to work, we look into the foster care system, and right now, there are over 1,000 children in our community who are living in out-of-home care. Some of them are in kindred care relationships, living with relatives. A number of them are in group homes. The majority of them are in foster care. And foster care is a difficult environment, both for the children, for the organizations that serve them, and for the families that foster. Did you know that our community, our area, is in the top 5%, like Orange County, top 5% of counties in the country for number of foster kids? It's a significant and daunting challenge. And you look at other challenges in our community, the pervasive homelessness, and recognize that homelessness doesn't just affect adults, it affects children as well. Where we partner with Colonial High School, to the best of their understanding, there are 100 kids, students there who are living homeless, trying to figure out how to get their schoolwork done, how to have clean clothes, how to have proper hygiene, while they're couch surfing or sleeping in the cars or in weekly rate hotels. What it looks like to help those kids can feel like a daunting challenge. In Seminole County, where we work with Rescue Outreach Mission, which is the only overnight shelter in Seminole County, and the only one with family housing, they have a perpetual list of waiting families. And anytime they can get a family in permanent housing, there's another family ready to come in. And those families on that list waiting to get in, they're not waiting in their homes to get in, they're waiting in their cars. They're waiting at a friend's house. They're waiting in very difficult circumstances. And how we address the complex challenges of homelessness for vulnerable children and families, it's a daunting challenge. The important thing, I think, is to recognize that not all of what it takes to address those challenges is just a solo sport. But today, what we want to do is answer the question, what can happen when the church commits itself to do good in the world? And to gain some insight into how we answer that question, we're going to be looking at Matthew chapter 5, starting in verse 14. You can read along with me. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. Let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. Now, when Jesus was speaking these words, it was very early on in his most well-documented and famous sermon, Sermon on the Mount. And he began his sermon talking about what we've come to call the Beatitudes, these countercultural values that highlighted the difference between people of his kingdom and how they would approach the world and what it looks like in the rest of the world. And he goes through these things, and he goes into this brief thing talking about how we're the salt of the earth, adding flavor to the world around us, and then how we are the light of the world. And he's essentially saying, what I call my people to live like, what I call them to be, ought to be like the difference between day and night, light and dark in the world around you. And there's two things that I want to highlight in this text today. First, and these are simple things, first, what does light do? It makes unseen things visible, right? Like light brings light into the dark. It makes the invisible visible. The other thing to note is that being a light, as Jesus talks about in this text, is a call to action. Being a light is a call to action. Let your light shine before others so that they may see your good deeds. They may see the good that you do. You know, I think I grew up reading a text like that and thinking mostly being a light of the world was about personal piety, right? Like you're just so good and your thoughts are so good and you just like ooze holiness in such a way that people are like, wow, they're glowing with the light of the world, and they get, and our personal piety ought to matter, and it does matter, and it does have an impact. But I think Jesus, in the way he lived his life, paints a very clear picture about what he means by good deeds. He lived in a very pious culture, and it wasn't his personal piety that people had issue with, that highlighted the counterculture values of the kingdom he was talking about. It was actually the way that he looked at and interacted with those who were invisible around him, right? Light makes the unseen visible. And Jesus went through his everyday life seeing and noticing and responding to and interacting with and showing love to and healing and reconciling the people who were least likely to be noticed around him, who were the most unseen, the most chronically underserved. And it'd be easy to look at Jesus' life and think, you know, Jesus' life was all about the cross. And of course, that was that's it, right? Like he took on the punishment for our sins for all time, for all of us, and like that's absolutely where his life was heading and why he came. But if you look what he did along the way, he constantly stopped and tended the needs of the unseen, of the unserved, of the unloved around him. And I don't think that was just like extra credit work. Like he's like, oh, I've still got a few more years until the cross, and so I'll heal this person or tend this need. I think it was exactly the exact same heart that caused him to give his life for all of us was the heart that caused him to stop along the way, to let his good deeds shine light in dark places. I was at a Young Lives event earlier this week. Young Lives is a part of Young Life that works specifically with teenage moms. And so these young women who have children who are, by virtue of their being parents when they're young, are oftentimes like kind of out of the normal opportunities that they would have faced. They're oftentimes stigmatized and unseen and unserved, and Young Lives just goes in and loves on these young women. And I was at this event talking about the ministry locally here in Orlando. The way they described it was this: we want to do life with them in the same way that Jesus would do life with them. We want to do life with them in the same way that Jesus would do life with them. That should be our heart and our response to the people that God has called us to serve. It's the most vulnerable in the world around us. You know, when I look back at the first things that came to mind when I was like, what are other daunting circumstances I faced? Stepping into the Everglades, the 4 times I stepped into new school environments. Like in each of those circumstances, I was alone. And what compounded how daunting the challenge was the sense of being alone. Like this was my thing to conquer on my own. And the reality is, as the church, our call to change the world is not an individual sport. It is not something we are called to do alone. It is something we are called to do as a community and as a community of churches worldwide. This was driven home to me when I had the privilege of being on the World Relief team that you saw highlighted in the video earlier in the service. I love our partnership with World Relief Malawi. Like Chris said, we've been partnering with them for 12 years. And if you caught it in the video, what they do, they don't go in and bring a bunch of outside resources and say, here's the things you need to serve your community. Instead, what they do is they help gather a network of churches, and then they look and say, what would it look like if we got together as a community of churches and said, we're gonna do good in our world. Like, we're gonna make a difference. And as an outsider looking in these communities, I see, I go into these communities and I see all the things that I think they lack, right? Like, they don't have resources, they're all living kind of day to day. The churches have, no money, you just see all the things that they lack. But then you see these churches come together and develop a vision for what it would look like if they said yes to God's call in their life to be a part of changing the world. If they committed themselves to do good in their community. And then good happens. And you see families restored. You see agricultural solutions, through this network of churches, like providing food security. You see education happening. You see the most vulnerable cared for. You see widows and orphans looked after. You see schools, but you see all these amazing things happen. And year after year, I'm just so amazed and so inspired to see the work that God is doing when churches, who by all appearances have nothing, recognize that God can use them to be powerful agents of change in their community. If they're willing to see the world the same way that Jesus did and shine light on those who are most likely to be unseen. On this particular World Relief project, we don't go in when we send a team with World Relief, we don't go in to do all the work because the churches are doing the work. So mostly what we're doing is bearing witness to the work that we're doing and offering encouragement and appreciating all the work that they have done and honestly bringing back far more than we feel like we leave. But every one of these networks of churches, when they decide to get together and yes, we are gonna do this, they have a project that kicks off their ministry, right? And so they pick a need in their community and they say, okay, we're gonna take care of this need as a group of churches. And that happened to coincide with our team, our small but mighty team that was going this year. And the churches that were beginning work in this new community, they'd identified a grandmother who's raising her grandchildren, and their bathroom and their wash house, which are small brick buildings, had collapsed. And so the church said, okay, we're gonna build them a new latrine and a new wash house. And so all these churches from all over the community came and sent volunteers, and they showed up to work with these women. And since we were there, we got invited to participate with that. So we're there, and Becky is doing a dance competition with the kids who weren't able to work, and Teresa's in there. You saw her in the video, mortar, putting mortar down for more bricks. And then Joe and I, the other guy on our team, and I, we were part of the brick acquisition team, right? So there's this old abandoned house that had a few salvageable bricks. And so we were with the team that was going and basically breaking down these walls, cleaning up the bricks that could be used, and then carting them about a block to where they needed to be. And so Joe and I, in typical American fashion, were like, well, all right, how many bricks can we carry? And so, we're carrying, I've got 5 bricks at a time, and I'm feeling pretty good about that and going back and forth. And after my second trip, Francis, who you saw in the video, he comes up to me, he's like, you need to take a break. And I was like, no, I'm good, I can keep going. And he's like, no, he's like, look at your hands. And he takes my hands, and he's like, what happens when you do hard work like this is you get these things on your hands. And I was like, I'm not sure if he's revealing what he thinks about pastors or what he thinks about Americans, but he's like, you get these things and they're called calluses. And he's like, and then he looks at my hands, he's like, look, you're already getting calluses. And I was like, I've got calluses because I'm building a boat. But he's like, you need to take a break. And I was like, I will not take a break. So I doubled down, and the next time I'm carrying 6 bricks, and then I did take a break after that. I just needed to check in on the project, make sure everyone was doing their job well. But this entire time, while we're carting bricks back and forth, while we're well, we've got the women who are carrying water. You got men over here mixing mortar. You've got the masons who are like constructing these walls. And then you got the people who are carting bricks. And the entire time, there's this one man. And he was noticeable because if I had seen him like sitting on the ground, I'd been like, oh, this is probably the guy that we're here to serve. He was so old. Like, I was like, he might be the first Malawian. Like, he's so old, and he's all bent over. He came up to about here on me, no kidding. And the entire time, while everyone else, all this activity was happening, he just very quietly walked back and forth between the demolition site and the construction site. And every time he was coming back, he had a brick in each hand. And just back and forth and back and forth. And I was so inspired by this guy. I was so inspired because I was like, here's a person who, if anyone could have opted out of participating in the day, he could have. But he just quietly, without any fanfare, without any prompting, just walked back and forth, 2 bricks at a time. I thought to myself, my goodness. Like, if we were to answer the question, what does it look like when the church commits to do good? In that context, I would say they're absolutely changing the world 2 bricks at a time. Like what this guy was doing, the most he could do, 2 bricks at a time. And yet he was faithful to do it again and again. I was so moved by what I saw. So we turn that question on ourselves. Like, what does it look like for us to do good in the world? What does it look like for us to take up our 2 bricks at a time and be a part of the world change that we're invited into as part of the mission of the church? And I'm so proud of, as a church, of how we've been able to make an impact. You look globally at the partnerships we have with Children's Hope Chest and Children of the Nations and Africa Windmill Project and World Relief and Josiah and Sarah and Nairobi Chapel. And we've got these beautiful relationships because it's not our job alone to change the world. And we see that through these partnerships, year after year, time after time, that God is changing the world. And when we talk about poverty and food security, we see in Malawi that thousands and thousands of farmers are getting agricultural training that is not only helping them provide food security year-round for their families, but providing an abundance so that school fees can be paid, houses can be safe and dry. Or in a Fiki school in a slum in Nairobi, in our partnership with Nairobi Chapel, where 230-some kids have school lunch every day, because your generosity has contributed to our being able to say yes to providing food. So that kids who would be made incredibly vulnerable, having to go out and scrounge food on their own, instead are able to show up to school and learn because they know that their food for that day at least will be taken care of. And in partnership with that, we send teams to go and, again, participate, encourage, support, see what God is doing. Last year we had 40 people go to visit one of our partnerships, or this year actually, 40 people. 16 of them had never been out of the country. I think 15 of them were students. And they went and participated in the simple acts of kindness that God uses to change the world. For them, that was their 2 bricks at a time. I'm going to show up and be in these partnerships. 46 teams over the last 10 years have done that. And locally, we see the same thing happening. One, we recognize that more churches doing good means more good gets done in the community. And so one of the things I'm actually really grateful that Michael brought to our culture here at Summit is he elevated this idea of meaningfully partnering in church planting in significant ways. And we're going to be talking about, as we approach the end of the year, what that looks like and how we're going to be going about partnering with and supporting church plants. But in our existing community relationships, Colonial High School, largest Title I school in our county just up the road, like so many of you, are showing up 2 bricks at a time and making a difference in that school. You're bringing coffee and donuts and encouragement and prayer for the teachers. You're renovating the Grenadier Market, who serves the most vulnerable children in the school, so that it moves more from like a Goodwill to like a Plato's Closet type vibes. You're making sure that children who are food insecure have food that they can bring home from school in the weekend. You're making sure teachers have the supplies that they need. This summer, the supply drive that y'all participated in, $20,000 worth of materials. I think it was, 2,500 pounds of supplies were given. In Lake Mary, very similar, $4,500 worth of supplies given, 1,000 pounds. And there's so much more. The Rooted groups this year, they made welcome home baskets for families who are moving into stable housing at Rescue Outreach Mission in Seminole County. And if you have nothing and move into a new place, you just have nothing in a new place. And so they make these welcome home baskets that has everything that you need for your new apartment. Shower curtain, cleaning supplies, toilet paper, all that kind of stuff. That was you all who are doing that. It's amazing to see the type of work that happens. Just last weekend, we did like hey, let's help our vulnerable children, our MVP kids who are those 100 kids living homeless at Colonial High School. Like, let's help them make sure they have food over Thanksgiving. The school said, if there's any way you can get 70 bags worth of supplies, and just like that, you all showed up. This last week, we were able to bring over 70 bags worth of Thanksgiving food for those families. And when you look at the heart of our ministry for serving vulnerable children and families, our family advocacy ministry, which engages particularly in the foster care system, and you look at the work that you're doing there, one, we recognize we are part of a network of 75 churches that have said, yes, we're going to stand in the gap for these vulnerable children and families. And we're going to build care communities that wrap around foster families so that all the incredible instability that happens in the life of a foster child is mitigated in the life of the foster family. So that simple things, we show up with simple things, 2 breaks at a time, 1 meal a week, a commitment to prayer, a willingness to care and to show up and to say, you're not alone. Like, that kind of work makes an incredible difference. Presently, we have 8 active care communities at Summit, and that has equated to 368 meals being provided, 600 hours of service. And in addition to that, we've been able to meet the needs of 30 families who are at risk of their children moving into foster care by meeting critical needs that keep the family together. It's amazing the work that you're doing. And I say that our family advocacy ministry is the heart of what we do because in many ways, foster kids are the least seen in our community. And the challenges are so significant. And simple acts of kindness and commitment and love make all the difference for them. It changes their lives. It changes the dynamics in their foster family. And what can feel like a very, very lonely road for a foster family instead feels like you're doing it with a team. Like, I'm not alone in this. And that challenge becomes that much less daunting. I want us together to watch this video of a family that has been served by Summit this year and just see a little bit and hear from them what it looks like when a care community shows up in their lives.
My name is Alexia Richardson. I am a mom of 4, 3 that you can see, 1 that has gone before us.
And I'm Matthew Richardson, husband to my beautiful wife, Alexia Richardson. Happy to be a foster and adoptive parent.
Fostering has always been something that I wanted to do, even when I was in college or before.
We knew how much love that we would give to our children. So we knew that we would have our biological children, of course, but we also felt like there's a lot of kids out there that need a home.
So when we said, okay, we'll do 1, right? We're gonna take 1 placement, start easy, 1 at a time. And within 3 months we went from 1 child in the house to 3 children in the house. It was intense. There were times where it was very intense.
Some of the challenges that we faced when we needed to get in contact with our caseworker comes to getting any answers from them, when it comes to any kind of medical attention that the kids would need. It was very hard to get a response from them.
Our specific licensor who came in and did the inspections of our home and told us everything we needed to get, she sent a list of organizations or groups that could help us. And so one of them was Commission 127. I
Care Community is a group of volunteers that wrap around a family who is in a foster or adoptive family. It includes a lot of things, but the mainstay is a weekly delivery of a home-cooked meal to that family. Hi, I'm Jen, and I'm the team leader for our Care Community.
Knowing that you have that positive support and encouragement, because it can be easy to get discouraged when, it's just, you feel like things aren't working well or things are moving really, really slowly. I don't know if there's an adequate word for it, but having that support is incredible. It kept us going.
In a bigger way, it was through conversations, like knowing that we can reach out to someone and like talk to someone about, like the difficulties through our fostering journey. The Care Community, they pray for us, like praying for us through this situation, making sure that we are encouraged, and through them, we found a church home.
Summit has done a really excellent job of answering the call, of walking out the gospel, and I feel like, it's kind of the community I've been looking for.
I think a lot of people who are considering adopting or fostering look down a tunnel of unknowns. Having people know that there's support and care that can wrap around them consistently for a long period of time without asking, it just shows up, I think kind of takes some of the uncertainty out of that whole experience.
Through Commission 127, I have definitely learned that situations that you may find unique to your family may not be so unique. And it's good to know that there's others that are going through some of the same frustrations, even the same victories that you have in your family, and that you're able to speak with someone to share thoughts, share advice.
Ultimately, a Care Community is rooted in friendship, trust, wanting to step up for kids in the ways that we can. Knowing that Alexia and Matthew were able to step up in fostering and then ultimately in adoption was huge, and that's not something that a lot of people can do. And so walking through that with them has been really, really amazing to see.
These are a group of individuals who have their own families. They are taking time to focus on us, and that's really thoughtful.
It's hard to overstate the impact that showing up every week for a family with a meal makes. To our Care Community, I want to say thank you, because you guys have made a very difficult process a lot easier, and you guys are awesome.
So what happens when our church commits to do good in the world? The world gets better 2 bricks at a time. If we say yes to unsheltering our light, shining it in the places where people are least likely to be seen. When we say yes to walking through our days as a community in the same way that Jesus did, being willing to stop and see and address the needs around us. When we do that, the world gets better, 2 bricks at a time. So our question as we close our time together is, what are the 2 bricks that you can carry? What are the little acts of love and kindness that you can do that will be part of this worldwide, over time, global phenomenon of God's church at work? Taking the good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ for our eternities and for our here and nows, taking it to the world. What can we do? Well, I'll tell you this, there's a lot we can do. You can go in the lobby after if you want, and Brianna and Caroline will be out there, and they would love to tell you all the different ways that you can get involved. But if you're looking for a suggestion on just tell me what to do, I'll give you 2 bricks, right? First, join with one of our global teams. We'll be holding interest meetings in the beginning part of the year. And we'd love for you to consider joining in our global partnerships and being a part of doing good in the world around us through that. You can use the QR code to sign up for one of the interest meetings, and we would love to have you consider doing that. I know it's a lot. It's time, it's money, it's effort, but it's so worth it. It'll change your life even while God is using you to change the lives of others. But for all of us, I would love it if our church said, in regards to care communities, in regards to advocating for foster families and foster children, if we just said, there's not going to be a family within a 5-mile radius of Summit that is left waiting for a care community. Instead, we're going to say yes every time. Right now, there are 13 families within 5 miles of this location that are waiting for a care community. They're taking on all those complex and daunting challenges of fostering and navigating the system and all of that, and they're waiting for a group of people to say, yes, we'll support you. I'd love it if our church were the ones who said yes. We'll show up. That would be 104 people in our church who said, yes, I'll be a part of a care community. On the same tear-off sheet that you have, on the blue side, you can sign up for one of our care community orientations. There's a little bit of training that's involved in that so that you can be prepared as an individual and as a team to make a difference. And I'd like for us to right now, take a pen, borrow a pen from your neighbor, let us know who you are and indicate your intention to show up and be a part of a care community. We have a couple of orientations coming up. There are dates for that. They're listed on here. But I would encourage you, be a part of the good that God is doing through our church. There will be baskets when you exit today. The bottom part of this is actually a tear off, so you can indicate your interest, tear it off, leave it in the basket, and we'll follow up with you and make sure that you have everything you need to pick up your bricks and get to work. And I believe that God will continue to do good through our church and to use us as a part of his global church to change the world. I'm so excited to continue to partner with you in that. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we are grateful to you. We're grateful that a measure of your grace in our lives is that not only do we get rescued from the worst consequences of a broken world, but we also get invited into your life-changing work in the world. Despite all we've done in our lives to run away, to live without faith, despite all the brokenness that we've encountered, you don't say we're obsolete. But you invite us in to shine light in dark places, to see those who are least likely to be seen, and to live our lives in much the way you did, stopping in the busyness and expectation of life, and tending the needs of those around us. And we know that you are with us always, and that these simple acts of faithfulness that you can use to change here and now and to change eternity. And so we ask that you do that. Whatever obedience looks like from us, that you'll use that to multiply the impact so that lives are changed. And we pray this all in your holy and precious name. Amen.
Flow, perfecting the saints below. Hear us who thy nature share, and who thy mystic body are. Join us in one spirit, join. Let us still receive of thine. Still for more on thee we call, thou who fillest all in all. Death that thou destroyed, actuate and guide. Diverse gifts to each divine, placed according to thy will. Let us all our work fulfill. Love like death hath all destroyed, rendered all divisions void. Names and sects and parties formed. Thou, O Christ, are all in all. Sweetly may we all agree. Touch with